Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. We got a late start today. It was a busy day yesterday. So today we are going to my absolute favorite place in Paris. That is Napoleon's tomb at the Invalides. That is a military hospital and an army museum. So the hospital itself was built by Louis XIV. A lot of it in Paris is built by Louis XIV. But anyway, it was built by Louis XIV for his veterans, for all the wars that he created. And over time, it still is a veteran hospital. There's a small portion of it that is kept as such. The rest is a military and army museum. Now today's Monday. Most of the retail shops in Paris are closed. The army museum itself is closed, but Napoleon's tomb and hopefully St. Louis Church is also open. Once we're done with that, we're going to the Eiffel Tower, and if time permits, we'll go to the Champs Elysees and the Arc de Triomphe. I'll see you in a bit, but first, breakfast. So we're going to the same cafe we went to yesterday. It's a typical French local bar slash brasserie. We enjoyed people watching. Here's Scott. What is he doing? I don't know. You guys excited?
Yeah.
Yeah? What are we doing today?
French stuff.
Huh? Napoleon's tomb, that's right. Okay, so it's a little gray today. There's a little bit of wind. I'm hoping that the microphone is not picking up on that. Paris is waking up still. It's Monday. As I mentioned, a lot of the retail shops will be closed on Monday. The main attractions, of course, are open. And then museums, for the most part, are open. So the place we wanted to go to is closed because it's Monday, so we had to switch brasserie. And here's a typical complete breakfast with orange juice, croissant, bread and butter. You like it, Willie? Mm-hmm. He's having a hot chocolate. Scott is having a allongé, which is a coffee, a double coffee. And Edward should stop with the phone.
I'm sending pictures to
And here's a café crème, and I'm having the same thing. Delicious and orange juice, of course. So here we go. This is the dome of the church, which was entirely regilded about 10 or 15 years ago. I'm going to focus a little bit more on it. Now, for those of you who don't know much about Napoleon, he was an emperor from the beginning of the 1800s. He was a significant figure of the French Revolution, became first consul after a coup, where he was elected first consul for life, and then crowned himself Emperor of France at Notre Dame, actually. I forgot to mention that yesterday when we visited. And what else could I tell you about Napoleon? There's a lot of misconception about the man. Some people think of him as being a despot and a dictator. To be honest, he was not. Every country Napoleon touched while he was at war with them, once the war was over, he recreated the entire infrastructure. So a lot of the roadway, a lot of the schooling, a lot of the universities, a lot of the hospitals, city halls that you would see in Germany, in Austria, in Italy, in Spain, all of those countries that he invaded were actually created by him. Most of Europe at the time didn't have this kind of infrastructure. Napoleon went in and created the infrastructure for those countries, the roadways, the thoroughfares and all of that. So a lot of countries in Europe over time became thankful for the presence of Napoleon in this country. He died in exile at St. Helena in 1821 under British capture, and one of his last wishes on his will was to be buried along the Seine River amongst the French people, and you'll see a quote about that later on when we go in the Church of the Dome. I'm going to keep chit-chatting while we walk there. All right, so Napoleon had two wives. The first one was Josephine. She was kind of like a courtesan, but she was also a divorcee from the islands, the West Indies islands that belonged to France at the time. So she was a little bit off when it came to French society. A lot of people made fun of her accent, the way she spoke. She came back to Paris. He met her right before he became first consul. It was very known to everybody in his entourage that Josephine would have lovers when he was away at war, which was quite often. Eventually, because she could not bear him a child, he managed to get himself an annulment, not a divorce, an annulment from the Catholic Church. He then made an arranged marriage with Mary Louise of Austria. They made a quick marriage. She became an empress and bore him one child named Petit Louis or Little Louis, and that's actually Louis XVIII.
Where did he live?
So his son and his only child, after Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena, was sent with Mary Louise back to her country. Francois Joseph, who was the emperor of Austria at the time, took care of him, but basically sent him straight to the army, and he spent most of his youth in the military and eventually died around the age of 18 years old of battle wounds on the battlefield. And his tomb is also right next to that of Napoleon, so I'm going to show you that in a minute. So Napoleon won a lot of battles, and you will see around his tomb a series of names in a circle, and these are all of the battles that he won, at least the most significant battles that he won. Some of the battles that he lost, the most infamous one being Waterloo, that was his last battle. His most glorious one being Austerlitz, and we have a train station here in Paris that is named after the battle. A lot of avenues, a lot of plaza, a lot of major sites in Paris are named after Napoleon's battles. Now, of course, I don't have a lot of time to tell you everything you need to know about Napoleon. The character himself is absolutely fascinating. This is somebody who came from nothing, who was sent to military school out of Corsica by his father. At the age of 9 years old, he went to military school in a country that was not his, and pretty much rose from nothing to emperor and dominating most of Europe beginning of the 1800s. The guy is absolutely fascinating. If you want to spend some time, go on Google and Google some of Napoleon's quotes, and it will give you an idea of the intellect and kind of like the sarcasm that came out of Napoleon. Personally, he's my favorite historical figure, not only because he's French, but also because of what he did for Europe in general. Now, his major contribution in France is the creation of the Civil Code, which is the set of laws upon which France is governed. And that Civil Code is still in existence and practiced today, and in some other countries in Europe as well. So it was a very, very significant change for the way France governed itself. An example would be the schedules for school, what is taught in school, the regular set of laws and how to practice law, what is considered law, legal, lawful, unlawful. It all came from Napoleon. So on the side of the dome is the beginning of the military hospital, and this part actually of the military hospital is still active, so we still have veterans there. And the part behind it, which is quite huge, is the Army Museum. And we have a typical French garden here with a view on the Eiffel Tower. And right in the garden here is the statue of J.H. Mansart. He's the biggest contributor to French architecture around the time of Louis XIV. Whenever you see this type of roof with the windows poking out from the roof, the barn style basically starts with a slope here and then what is a curve and then a slope, and another curve with those sitting dog windows. That is a mansard roof. Invalides and the Church of the Dome. And here's the main gate. I'm going to zoom in so you can see. In the distance we have the bridge Alexandre III with the golden horses, and on the left is the Grand Palais, right here with the glass dome, and then on the right is the Petit Palais. These are remnants of the Universal exhibit from 1900. And I think we're going to take the bridge actually and work our way up to the Arc de Triomphe and down to the Eiffel Tower rather than the other way around. Kind of makes sense. So the first bridge here is Alexander III Bridge. It was built for the exhibit of, it was built for the Universal exhibit in 1900, and I believe it took only 18 months to build this bridge. And it basically symbolizes the friendship between Russia and France. So this is the Petit Palais, which was built for the purpose of the Universal exhibit of 1900. It is now a museum. They have rotating exhibit for this particular venue here. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous building. I wish we had time to go in. I'm going to walk toward to the entrance so you can see the guild on the main gate. And then on the other side, it's being faced by the Grand Palais, which was also built for Universal exhibit, and that's the one that has the glass roof. The statues on it at both corners, the chariots, such as the one over there, are massive. There's absolutely no scale that I can give you to give you an idea. I'm going to write it on the screen, I guess, as a caption, but they are absolutely massive statues. right, so we just started the Champs Elysees. Actually, we're at the halfway point because it goes all the way to the other side here to the Concord Plaza and Tuileries Garden. We're gonna go up this way, and there's not much going on here. It's just parks for now, and then eventually the stores and the boutiques start. We're not really interested in that. We just want to go up, grab a bite at some sandwich shop, and go to the Arc de Triomphe, which is all the way in the back. You probably can see it by now. That's about a mile away from here. So here's a tidbit for you. If you're hungry and you're on the Champs Elysees and you don't really want to spend a lot of money, those little kiosks like this one here are super cheap. For $36 we just fed 5 people, and we had hot dogs and we had crepe and plenty soda. It's right there after you leave the Grand Palais, and trust me, I thought this was going to be garbage food. It hit the spot. Here's a restaurant recommendation for you. Actually, not necessarily the one on the Champs Elysees, but this is Léon de Bruxelles. They specialize in mussels and French fries, and you can have all you can eat French fries and mussels. They are absolutely delicious. They're priced reasonably, and the food is really good. So we are coming on to La Durée, who's the most famous macaroon maker in France. And it's a pretty old store. I'm hoping there is no line to get a macaroon. If you get a chance, at least go into the store, check it out, because the colors of the macaroons are absolutely gorgeous. And the store is pretty old too, so it's one of those, 1860s decor and architecture. Beautiful store. We are going in. So I did an absolute folly. I bought a box, only 18 macaroons, and I got a beautiful box and a bag, and of course these are keepsake for me. I'm going to open it to show you. We're coming on to Fouquet's, or Fouquet. This is a very famous brasserie on the Champs Elysees, and it's very expensive, of course, as one could expect because of the location, but it's also very famous. Now, when we have the equivalent of the Academy Awards, which is called the CEDAR in France, most of the actors come to Fouquet for the after party, you know, for cocktails. So they have designed seats inside with the name of famous actors and famous directors that are, of course, past winners. So you can sit in a seat that has been designated for Catherine Deneuve. It would have a little plaque next to it to say so. It's a pretty decent place. Actually, the food is not bad. The only problem with it is that it is awfully expensive. So here's the Arc de Triomphe on Place de l'Étoile. This is a monument that was built by Napoleon to the glory of his army and France. So a lot of the images that you would see around it and on top of it and on the side are dedicated to Napoleon. The one on the left in particular is Napoleon as an emperor. And the one on the right, so here's Napoleon, and the one on the right is Marion, who represents France. So we're coming on to the Trocadero. This is actually the back of the Trocadero, which is facing the Eiffel Tower, and you can't see it because it's right behind this one building. Almost got run over here. There's a big plaza between those two buildings, and it gives you the most fantastic view of the Eiffel Tower. If you've been to Paris, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, I'm sure you've seen pictures of it. You ready?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
It's gonna be big. It's gonna be huge. All right. Here we go.
Thank you.